So before you just see Switch Pro in the title and can start typing cancel Sunbro Nation, I can't stand this channel, oh my god, we're talking about Switch Pro again, this is a little bit different and actually a very interesting talking point around the entire idea around what could have been and maybe even what the Switch OLED model was supposed to be, as there's been so much smoke around Nintendo planning more powerful hardware. You have the Takahashi Mochizuki report stating that 11 different developers have these more powerful dev kits. Something is going on with a Switch revision, branded the Switch Pro by a lot of the online leaks, talks, and rumors around it. And in today's video, we need to go over some interesting comments from John Linneman over at Digital Foundry, essentially claiming that through talks with development colleagues and friends, that it is now far more likely that no Nintendo Switch revision will happen in the current life cycle, and we have to talk about what this really means for what is next when it comes to new Nintendo Switch hardware right now. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. As I mentioned, guys, clearly Nintendo Switch Pro has been a hotly debated rumor, leak, topic, whatever you want to call it, online amongst Nintendo fans for far too long now, and I'm in agreement with the fact that it's somewhat of a played out topic until we get any kind of official confirmation around new hardware plans from Nintendo at this point. But there is a very interesting reason that this topic is flared up again online, and it's actually around the likelihood of Switch Pro or any kind of Switch revision, and all of the previous rumors and leaks and insiders, quote unquote, that we saw saying that this thing would be coming online may have been tied to real information the entire time. But just how we say you can never say anything is for sure until Nintendo officially announces it themselves, that internally plans were canceled to bring the more powerful Switch hardware to market, potentially fitting into the shoes of something like a new 3DS, where the display is better, you get better graphical power, but it's still in the same generation. We could have been talking about that with the Nintendo Switch, but instead plans shifted, and we do need to discuss where this rumor comes from, how credible is it at all, and does it ultimately mean anything for the new Nintendo Switch hardware situation. And to first kick off this conversation, let's quickly hop over to Nintendo Everything and read through their detailed typed up article together. Rumor: Digital Foundry claims mid-generation Switch hardware refresh was planned. Rumors of a more powerful Switch, often dubbed by fans as the Switch Pro, have persisted for years. The thought was that Nintendo would come out with a new piece of hardware that isn't quite a successor, but would be a step up from what we have now. Presumably, this theoretical device would allow for things such as technical improvements when it comes to aspects like frame rate and resolution, and perhaps even better visuals. Digital Foundry's John Linneman has now weighed in on the situation in the outlet's latest podcast. After speaking with some developers, he believes Nintendo was at one point toying around with a Switch hardware refresh. However, that seems to no longer be happening, and the company is apparently pursuing a true successor instead. As you can read the full quote here, so I think at one point internally, from what I can understand from talking to different developers, is that there was some sort of mid-generation Switch update planned at one point, and that seems to no longer be happening. And thus, it's pretty clear that whatever they do next is going to be the actual next generation hardware. I don't think it's going to be 2023. Linneman would go on to say that in his view, Nintendo is likely nervous about transitioning to what will come next after Switch, given past generations. After the GameCube didn't do too well, we saw the Wii, which sold over 100 million units. However, the Wii U, which came next, it was one of Nintendo's worst selling systems. The company is now back on top again with Switch, which is one of the best selling consoles ever. There's been a little bit of a pattern with one system doing well and the next one taking a big step back. So listen, the first thing to keep in mind with this entire story is that we do have to just take it at face value for what Digital Foundry's John Linneman is claiming, because unfortunately we can't trace any of this back to a direct source, like saying Zynga was the company that I interviewed and they showed me the Switch Pro or more powerful Switch dev kit. Like, none of that is here with this, so definitely keep that in mind when we're talking through these possibilities. But it is interesting if you do think back in time to when the Nintendo Switch OLED was announced. And everybody assumed when that trailer first dropped that, wait a minute, this is going to be the Switch Pro, and then it was to many people's surprise that it actually had the same chipset afterwards, because that got announced right in the heat of all of the different reports from Bloomberg, Takahashi Mochizuki, calling out Nintendo saying, I know you have more powerful dev kits out there. I've talked to the people myself. There's been huge increases in raw materials and R&D research. All of these different things point to new Nintendo hardware, and Nintendo, while refuting disputing all of those claims, did give us something in the way of new hardware, but not the more powerful revision that many fans expected it to be. And that is where I personally fall on this entire issue. I do think that there is a strong likelihood that if, especially in 2023, alongside of Tears of the Kingdom, we don't see anything new in terms of a hardware refresh, it may have been in fact the case that the Nintendo Switch OLED was meant to be a Nintendo Switch Pro. And you do have things like the dock that supports HDMI 2.0 and a higher wattage, and it's updatable. It doesn't mean that dock has the processing power or any kind of chip in there to make existing Switch hardware run better, but what it could signal is that when the initial plans were being drawn up for this thing, Nintendo may have wanted to source a more powerful chipset that, due to the real-world semiconductor shortage that was at an all-time high during that production and launch window, it could have been too much of a task to pull off, and the plans could have been reshuffled. Instead of launching a more powerful Switch with a OLED display at something like a $400 price point, let's drop it down to $350, keep the same Tegra X1, and it's really just a bigger upgrade for the handheld play experience, in which case we might just go this whole console lifecycle without any kind of mid-gen refresh. And while I'm still in the camp that I would happily purchase brand new Nintendo Switch hardware that is more powerful, even if it is just a Nintendo Switch Pro, or if they brand it Nintendo Switch 2, but it's realistically like that mid-step instead of a full clean break into what is next for the next console generation, I'm still in the camp that I want to buy that thing. I'll buy it alongside of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I would love to have that game run at a smoother frame rate and have the highest graphical quality possible. I'll pay the money for it. All of that said, it is kind of fascinating to have the conversation around plan shifting at that level of scale, that developers may have known about more powerful Switch hardware, but then plans just ultimately changed. And that is kind of one big focal point on this entire thing. While it is so much fun to talk about the possibilities of what Nintendo could be planning, and we do it plenty on the channel, it's something I personally enjoy. It is that big asterisk to every conversation we have at the end of the day, which is, until Nintendo officially announces anything, nothing can be taken to the bank for sure. If you try to lay out an exact prediction and plan for this company on how they will announce things and what they will do, it might be fun to come up with that roadmap, but I guarantee you, you can crumble it up and toss it out the window, because 9 times out of 10, Nintendo's going to do their own strange business decisions in ways that, even if you just look at history, doesn't always follow their same patterns. And so they are truly a wild card manufacturer mega company out there today. And I just think that at the end of the day, this is a fun talking point, but really does not confirm anything in terms of new hardware plans going forward with Nintendo. And we will just have to shift our focus to 2023, which is already stacking up to be a very hype year for Nintendo Switch gamers. If we get nothing new, I will still be more than happy to just boot up Tears of the Kingdom. I will also be hopeful that if it is not a hardware refresh, we at least get that Tears of the Kingdom themed OLED model. And if we do indeed go the distance of 2023 without new hardware, does that make 2024 the for sure shoe-in year that we finally get it pulled back and sold? Or does Nintendo ride this thing out with more special editions sold here and there, maybe a Switch Lite revision, but nothing actually new in terms of hardware until a year like 2025? But I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, your personal thoughts, speculation, and feelings around this topic. Do you think there is any reason to even be talking about the idea of a canceled Switch Pro based off of John Linneman's comments over at Digital Foundry? Do you personally buy into the idea that maybe the OLED was indeed going to be a Switch Pro and plans had to change due to the chip shortage or other sourcing issues with getting the thing to market? Or do you think this is all just kind of developer hearsay that is maybe being taken a little bit too far and it's just being overblown in the media and you're personally done with the story? Because that's a perfectly fine stance to have as well. But regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.